You're live. We can't hear you, Carla. There is sound issue, I guess.
Yeah, technical issues.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
It's all in a day's work for a podcaster. Welcome to another episode of Podcasters Unleashed. Sorry about that technical hiccup there. We do have them from time to time. We're back with another episode of Podcasters Unleashed. And this week we're talking about how new technology could improve our communities. If you've been following our new season for the last 8 weeks, you know that we've been talking about lots of different topics. Technology, we talked about AI, we've talked about cryptocurrency, we've talked about the metaverse and all sorts of different things. So this week we are going to bring everything together and we're going to start talking about how these new technologies could improve the world and could improve life and what impact it might have in different areas of our lives and different challenges that we're trying to overcome as humanity. But before we do that, we'll talk about our different podcasting interests and podcast projects. So I podcast about education and well-being. My podcast is the Wonder and Wellbeing podcast, and it's all about education. It's all about well-being, not just of children, but also of adults. Over to you, Howler. Tell us about your podcast.
Yes. And my podcast is about Women Stories podcast, where I share real stories from women who rose above different challenges. Over to you, Matilda.
And my podcast is about finding yourself, knowing yourself, and coming out of adversity stronger than before. And to you, Victor.
Thank you, Matilda. I'm Victor Osio. I'm the host of the Diaspora Entrepreneurs podcast. And my podcast is about talk. I have conversations with entrepreneurs who have managed to move from the core 9 to 5 towards a lifestyle of freedom. And my side hustle is real estate and podcasting. Diaspora Entrepreneurs podcast. Over to you, Simon.
Thank you, Victor. My podcast is Taxi Chronicles, where I interview people as they get into the taxi. They share their journey. Today, I interviewed a lady who deals with adult virtual reality. I found out there's a suit you can wear that you could actually have intercourse virtually over the virtual reality. So I'm sure certain people will be interested in that. And my other podcast is Africa Investor Stories, where I interview people who've invested in Africa from around the world, and they share their experiences with the pros, the cons, the highs and lows. Back to you, Carla.
Yeah, so that's all about our individual podcast. So you can see that it covers a wide range of different things, different ideas, different topics. And that's what we've been doing over the last 8 weeks. We're on week 9 of a 10-season episode. And we're talking about how technology could improve our communities and therefore improve the world or improve life. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what things we would like to see solved, because there's a lot of stuff going on. We've talked about AI, we talked about cryptocurrency, Matilda's took us into the metaverse and all of the different deep topics about how science is improving life. But question is, what world or community society problems do you wish new technology could solve? So that's for you, our audience, and also for my co-host here. So let's kick off with you, Howler. What do you wish we could solve in the world with all this new technology that's developing?
The first thing that came to my mind is health and provide healthy food for people, for poor people too. I think that is the most important thing that I can think of for the moment. And I think that technology could contribute to that, to accelerate that kind of producing healthy food and how we can have a sustainable development world.
Okay, so I think Matilda probably could tell us a little bit about scientific developments that might improve that. What's going on in the world of tech, Matilda, that might improve health and food?
Actually, I was thinking about gene editing, what Kaula was saying. And I really love gene editing in a way that can help people's health in a tremendous way. humans' health. I mean, my grandma is suffering right now from dementia, Alzheimer's, and my grandpa passed away with Parkinson's. And I know with gene editing, you can erase those from the genes of a child, of your baby or the infant, actually. So I think it can be very beneficial, because what I see, what my family is going through right now, dealing with my grandma, someone that you really, really love, and just very devastating. So I'm hoping with gene editing we can edit the cancer cells of your genes, and also some diseases like Alzheimer or I don't know, some other ones that comes with Parkinson's or MS, and also other to say about mirrors. But for now, about health, this is what I wish for: new technology. So I'm all for gene editing, but I don't know if humans. I don't trust humans are there are nice enough or um, good enough, good intentions all the time. I don't think so. They might use and abuse the system, but the potential is good.
Okay. Okay, so we can come back to that a little bit later about the abusing of system and how we can, how we could address that. Simon, what do you think? What problems do you wish new technology would solve?
We can't hear you, Simon.
It's interesting when Howler says about better food. I believe the food is out there already, as in naturally grown. I think technology has caused a lot of problems when it comes to food in trying to enhance it, but actually reducing the quality. I think in the sense of agriculture, we can produce better equipment that allows us to get the water, so irrigations where they need to be in accordance with the way nature works. But I'm not a big fan of splitting seeds to create better, or seedless grapes and things like that, because for instance, grapes, seeds are vital to the human digestion system. And when you remove them, then obviously constipation causes. When you get constipation, you get other issues. And it's just like a car tire that's with a flat tire. If you don't fix it, it's going to cause many problems. So that's what I would say in regards to the food basis. There's other things that obviously with technology that makes life a lot more easier. Smartphone in itself, and before we had kind of type in on a piece of paper and send it by mail, and now you just send a WhatsApp message. You can do a video call. What we're doing now, there's 5 of us having a conversation from different places in the world, probably nearly all the main continents, and it's technology. So these are just many things that makes life a lot easier, along with good news, really knowing what's going on instead of what the government just tells you it wants you to know. But anyway, back to you, Carla.
That's a good one. I didn't think of that about good news. That is definitely one way that we could use technology in a positive way. Have more good news, more happy news. Victor, what do you think? What world community problems do you wish technology would solve?
Yeah, Carla, thank you. It's a good thing that most times we forget about the good news, and it's a good thing that Simon mentioned good news. See, technology can really bring good news apart from how we keep on suspecting the other side. Yeah, for me, I would say it does 3 things: hunger, power, and access to finance, access to payments. So I think these 3 for me is something that new technology has really helped communities to deal with hunger. You cannot get there's something that's going on in Africa now for the past 3, 4, 5 years now, where we call crowdfunding. It's farm crowding, so agricultural crowdfunding, where people from all over the world, they invest in a farm, and the locals, they start to get they start getting access to finance through the crowdfunding thing. And when they sell their crop, they'll be able to pay back, and they get their funds straight away using using new technology as well. that's what I mean by access to finance as well. So they all like add up. And also something very, very important is access to power, electricity. New technology like solar has really, really helped some off the grid remote places in Africa to like power some very, very to power water supply. So there's some very good things that new technologies is helping people, helping communities to thrive in Africa. So over to you, Carla.
Yeah, I think Howler was going to add something there.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what Victor and Simon were saying, and I heard about an app, farming for tractors. So farmers could have like an Uber for tractors, so they can work in their farms. So I think it's like a new solution, a new technology for them because farming equipments are very expensive. So that we can see how technology also could help those farmers with those equipments and how they can just borrow those equipments rather than owning it. So I think new technology could help to the farmers to be more productive without playing with the seeds and with the editing genes.
Yeah, and I like what you said there, Victor, about the crowdfunding and access to different financial pots and funding and things like that people can get through technology. I know it's massive. It's grown so much in the last 10 years. It's gone from just a little kind of off grid thing to something that's really huge. And actually, for a lot of organizations around the world, it's their only source of funding because they don't have access to traditional finance. So I think for developing countries, it's an amazing opportunity. But also, I think for developed countries where the ideas are maybe not the most popular ideas, but they are good, innovative ideas, and you can choose to get into funding those. So what I was going to talk about next is what changes have you seen? So this kind of follows on for what we were just talking about. What else have you seen in terms of change in the world, in your local community or around the world? And how could technology, or how is technology, because it might already be doing so, how could it, speed up the change or improve things for people? Matilda, what do you think?
I think any situation that you look at, the positive point and there is a negative point. Right now, for example, with social media, there are lots of positive points around it. We are connected with each other. We can have a more biased news. We can be connected to different sources, different places at the same time. But also, social media damaged our young peoples, which I'm always coming back to. Lots of young girls are in their 13, they're in their 14. They don't even know what womanhood is. They don't even know what even human is. They don't even know their own values in a sense. And they are following some woman like Kim Kardashian, or I don't know, some other one. I don't remember at this moment their name. And it's just sad that they think value of a woman is a certain figure or a certain way of living, whereas before you don't have that access, and most of the people at that age would read books, or these girls, they would be part of a sports club or a sports team. And it's just sad that they are just part of it, acting like 30 years old, 20 something year old, whereas they could be a child and enjoy their teenage years. So I'm really against it. Also, maybe I'm thinking about metaverse can change a lot of way people live or interact with each other, which we can go deeper than that later on.
Yeah, I know you always talk
Oh,
about the metaverse.
I
And
will
we will.
jump in.
Yeah, go ahead, Victor.
See, access to so many things that this new technology has given. When I mean new technology, I'm talking about not Web 3.0 but Web 2.0, where people have access to information, access to education. You cannot do your. I had a friend who did her master's degree in Nigeria, but she did it in what's it called? One of these units in the US. So it was virtual, 100% virtual. Graduation, then she had to like go to the US for a ceremony. But access to education, and also access to finance, not finance, access to information, because now most of the people I interact with in Africa, they that you are better, the West is better than us, or the East is this is better than us, or that group of people is better than us, now is kind of fading away, because we now have access to information every day, and we see that, listen, what can be implemented here does not take a genius to do that if the structure is in the right place. So that kind of information is not coming on, that, oh, there was, we always have um, flawed flawed elections in Africa, most countries, because of dictatorship. And when they leave power and election comes, it is serious mess. But what we saw in the US for the past couple of times now, we're like, oh, wait a minute, it's not really that smooth sailing. If these people that are championing this can have this kind of fault, or can have this kind of broken system at this time, then we should not like put ourselves under too much pressure. We should just keep growing at our own pace. So access to that kind of information, it is really, really good for us using modern technology like Web 2.0.
Yeah, and you're kind of touching there a little bit on the pros and cons. So I just want to go onto that really, about pros and cons of new technology. And I think Matilda touched on this earlier about the concern that we have for whether or not humans can use these technologies, and how we can regulate it. How can we make sure that they're used in the right way? So I think we've got a banner about concerns somewhere. So yeah, what concerns do you have regarding new technology and community development? That's a question for you, our audience, but maybe you will also touch on it with regard to pros and cons. I think Matilda, you were trying to say something.
Well, one of my concerns will be human nature. I don't think human nature, I mean, not everyone is bad. Obviously, we have very good human beings, but also we have people who are greedy, who love power. And for example, with this gene editing, there will be a tool to control a certain type of society, a certain layer of the society, and also it can be very dangerous as well. Take humanity to a different direction. I don't know if having technology or not technology will change anything, because right now we see leaders taking advantage of their position and their position, and they control and they damage other humans. So I don't know about human nature. Otherwise, I think the technology can give us a lot of improvements, but somebody takes advantage of it and take humans in a certain level, not machine, but semi-machine, because you can program your genes in a way that you want. Then I think humanity will change in a very significant way.
Yeah, and I think also a little bit, maybe Matilda, what do you think about the cost of some of these new technologies? Because a lot of them are, once they're developed and they're marketed to people, they're marketed as solutions, but actually the cost of them is huge. For example, like gene editing, how many people are actually going to have access to gene editing? You know,
that's true. I think it's going to have a very big difference between people who have money and who have the power to have this kind of a technology, whereas the other middle class and people who cannot access technology. And I think devastating situation can happen. Maybe, I don't know, it's just I'm assuming maybe 200-300 years later it'll be common for everyone, but till then a lot of people will suffer and will be a victim of their financial circumstances.
yeah, interesting.
When it comes to, oh,
Go ahead, Victor, and then we can come
Yeah.
to Simon.
Sorry, Simon. See, when it comes to gene editing, I just try to like see how it will be watered down, because you see, gene editing is like you can compare it to bleaching of the skin as well. So if it's access levels start to like drop, and it goes all the way, you see how bleaching is right now for some black people who want to like bleach their skin and increase the skin tones. So gene editing, the rabbit hole, to me, it is a scary place to go, because you see people start like it needs to be heavily regulated. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Do you think well, being heavily regulated, I suppose that connects back to Matilda's point. Who would regulate it? And do we trust the people who regulate it to be regulating it in the benefit of people, or is it going to be another one of those things where they're regulating it but for their own benefit?
Just like COVID vaccine.
I wouldn't say gene editing is bleaching and gene editing, though. That's just damaging your biological makeup. Gene editing is when you take something at source and manufacture. It's a bit like AI manufacturing something along the lines. But I did want to talk about what was mentioned earlier, where it comes about what Victor spoke about, where in Africa they're starting to realize what's done in Europe they can do in Africa much easier. That's a perfect example of positive news and creating and developing a positive mindset of oneself, group of people. So in turn, that will change the tables. And you see that in Asia and India, for example, where they're actually looking and say, well, we're all going to America to make a Silicon Valley, but we can actually do that back home. They've got a number of Silicon Valleys popping up throughout India, for example, and with the minds that they have and the love for education and innovation, they will surpass America in no time at all. And Japan's been a prime example. After the war, they took a lot of the Western technology and they enhanced it. And there we have Sony and we have all the company today. And then you follow on with Korea, South Korea. I drive a Kia car. And there's probably about 15 different models of Kia on London streets today. Very, very popular car. And they cover in a very wide range. So all of these things stem from what Victor was speaking about with the mindset and people seeing opportunities and being able to develop. But back to you, Carla.
Yeah, you mentioned something there about different countries. Do you guys think that the value systems and what people's countries are based on, the ethics that they're based on, makes a difference to how they implement change and how they will use these new technologies? Matilda?
Of course there is. I mean, there are societies, or there are certain societies that are very strict, they're very traditional, and they don't like what's coming in. Even the youngsters, they're not very in tune with the new technology, and they're embedded in a way that they have to do a certain way what their parents are asking. I mean, in Jewish society or in Chinese society, or like in Iranian and Armenian society, what I can bring an example of. I don't think they can be interested in new technology, but at the end they have to care their parents. So there is a pull bringing back to their roots. I don't know how long that can last, but there is a pull that came back, or the way of thinking of you have to make your parents happy, and if you're making them happy, you have a guilt feeling. So that guilt feeling can be very traumatic. So you have to go to therapy for that as well, which most of these people do. It's just I don't think every culture or every society the concept of adapting to new technology will be the same. So it can be very based on your value system and how you perceive life in general.
What do you think about that, Howler?
Well, I think it depends on the intention of each governor. For example, in China, banned cryptocurrency mining in 2021.
I think you're muted.
Yes, and also in US, we have 40 billion tons of carbon dioxide that were produced by US Bitcoin mining alone. So we can see also the effects of Bitcoin and the new, the effects of Bitcoin on the environment itself and what is happening right now. And actually, and now in Africa, they will do the Bitcoin mining too. So we are going to see a new shift in people's well-being there too.
Yeah.
Carla, let me just add to what Hala just said. You see, when it comes to the shift, the cultural values, and for a long time now, Africans will be working with hands, tools, heavy duty material. But now, new kids are coming up with, they're learning, they have a different mindset. They're selling, dealing, acquiring skills online. And parents who have been working in factories for all their life, they were like, so what do you do again? Oh, I help someone to run their business like a visual assistant. I help someone to design, I help a company to design their website. I help them to do a marketing plan. I help them to do social media marketing. Oh, are you sure what you're doing is not scam? Do they actually pay you to use the laptop, or do they actually pay you to use this system? So the mindset between the old generation and the current new generation in African youth, it is something totally different. The value system before was work hard, do this, go and work here, go to school, whether you be a doctor, this, that, this. But now, 3 months ago, a friend of mine was, he had his birthday, and I think I'll be doing it as well in my birthday that is coming. So he said, okay, this time around, no more popping bottles, no more going to the club, or no more going out to celebrate. What we have to do now is we get some kids and we do a skill acquisition for them. So those who want to go into fashion design, who wants to go into IT training. So I choose one kid who will be learning graphic design. And after like 2 months, they send me what she has already done. She has designed a website for their church, which I'm like, okay, this is actually nice. And guess what? It does not take, it's not even up to £100 just to like get someone to actually teach them what to do. So now she has started designing this. So the next time, what is going to happen? So I will be implementing that on my birthday coming up in August. So you guys be ready. So I'm just giving you a heads up. So, but when it comes to new technology, I think we are on point with that, the value system between the old and the new, and what is currently happening on ground.
Interesting. Anything to add to that, Simon, about culture and values and how they impact the way people implement change?
I'll tell you, all right, social media, prime example, there's two things here. One is the younger generation's communication ability has gone down because obviously there's even, when I was in Jamaica, this was about 8 years ago, to be honest, they had a texting party. So you all go in the same room, but everybody's texting somebody. Didn't make sense to me, but it shows that there's a lack of communication ability there because the actual interaction is gone. But as we know, for those of us who have children or even younger, with when it comes to social media, that's how they communicate. And when we include social media, it's actually including WhatsApp, because you get a WhatsApp status or stories and all of those kind of things. And they help us in our communication, make life easier, but they also has side effects, excuse me, in that response. But I do like what Victor was saying about helping the community and enhancing people's, giving people opportunities. And now with social media also, let's say Victor's got this person he's teaching stuff. Let's say he's teaching them on one of his real estate projects. He can film that. He can produce that. He can produce snippets and put it out there. And before you know, Victor, you've got a school alongside your construction development. Not talking free labor, but you're teaching the young while you're getting things done. Yeah, and you haven't used a whip. Yeah, but on the serious note, that's a prime example of technology enabling to help other people. Other people get the same idea of what Victor's just been mentioned to. He's implemented, and it follows on, and that's a very quick way of people learning on the job, apprenticeships, and people who could, excuse me, people can also see, that if that's working for him, that can work for us. Changes the whole form of education. So now the big rates of paying 27 grand for the year or for the 3 years to do a degree starts to dwindle because you can learn from the on-site education. Back to you.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's been one of the probably the most positive changes that I've seen in my lifetime with technology is the way that you can educate yourself. The skills. I mean, what we are doing now didn't exist when any of us were kids, and we've learned this online. We've never met, or most of us have never met. Some of us have met up and socialized together, but most of us have never met each other. We learned this online through an online course, and then we're doing different things with the skill set, and we've got loads of other skills, haven't we? Text-based skills that we can use to implement change in our communities, but also to make different streams of income and to teach other people. So I think that's definitely one of the most positive things. Okay, so we're kind of talking, let's move a little bit away from the negative things and talk about positive, but I know we've got some comments. Matilda, can you read the comments?
Yes, and Sasha is saying, well, hello Sasha, thank you for joining us. He's saying the central bank will decide about our future, so don't worry.
Okay, interesting. Maybe not. What do you guys think about that? Do you think they will, Howler?
Yes, I do. I think all the new regulation that will come up, I think it's that they do still control the world and all the financial system, and I think with the regulations they will always be they will always be here.
Okay, what do you think, Victor?
See, I'm not really sure because the cryptocurrency took the world central bank by surprise. So it will be very difficult for them to have total control of our decisions, of our way of life in future. So I'm not really sure. I'm like 50-50 on that because with the new technology now, I'm not sure.
Okay, so you think they'll struggle to fully regulate and control?
Absolutely, they would struggle. They would struggle.
Okay, what do you think, Matilda, our resident decentralized finance lady?
Well, I think crypto can do a lot of good things for countries that there are restrictions, that have a lot of restrictions from their government, like Venezuela, like Iran, like right now in Russia, and maybe Ukraine as well from the situation that they're in. But I believe that the governments of all the countries, they're not going to set back and say, oh, you know what, people can have their opportunity, so let these people use the opportunity. I'm sure they will intervene and they will try to make the situation harder for people to make money and to exchange. Now, when this can happen, I don't know, I'm sure it's going to take time. It really needs laws and regulations to follow. But I'm sure they will come in and try to control as much as they can. Now, how much they can control, I don't know. But at least we realize that the people, the societies, they are ready to take control of their banking and finances on their own and not give it to the big banks and governments to control their finances.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What do you think, Simon? You got anything to add to that? Do you think the banks will decide, or?
I think, just like crime, criminals are always ahead. Yes, you have to be at least 10 steps ahead if you don't want to go to jail. And I use that as an example to say the government is always lagging behind because the government's laws are based on what they've seen the last 10 years. Thus, crypto's been out 10, 15 years, and now they're scrabbling to say, let's do this, let's do that. But the people with the innovative side will just move along, move along, move along. So it's always going to be a game of catch up. And also with technology and means of what we've been referring to on the news, on seeing real media, and I mean what we see is what's been filmed is what we see, instead of waiting on BBC or some other news channel to tell us what they want us to believe, which is a big difference. You can put 2 and 2 together and definitely make 4 or 44 or 22 if you want to, and moving forward along on those bases there. So I do believe that the government may bring in restrictions, but you have to also ask what are you actually trying to restrict and why. And we've seen that with weed, for instance. The government's restricted weed for many years, but has it really had an impact? No. It's put certain kind of people in jail, but where everybody else is doing it. And now they just said, come on, we might as well just say we took something out of it and let everybody do it. And we'll just get loads of tax revenue. So many, what I'm saying here is that we can hope, the government can hope and say they're going to regulate and they're going to do things, but in reality is what is their really ultimate goal? Because if you haven't really got an ultimate goal, and it's not realistic with the people you reside over. And remember, we're all different nations, different tribes, different clans, and so we don't all have the same mindset. And that's what is preached through the colonization. Colonization is the idea that everybody should be living, let's say, on the English style of things or the French style, but in reality, we're all different people. And we have different ways and different cultures, and it comes, therefore, different lifestyle of things. But back to you, Carla.
Yeah, were you going to add something, Howler, to that?
Yeah, I just want to add about the modern central banks. Actually, they target the rate of an inflation in a country as their primary metric. Monetary policy. So if the prices are high, they will make their interest rate higher. So they always control the money policy and what's going in each country. And more the country is corrupted, more the central banks will have more power in that country, unfortunately.
What I was going to say, though, sorry, Howard's just brought something to mind. I was having a conversation with, I can't remember, someone in a taxi or whatever, but we were talking about the younger generation. We talk about earning money, and we compared it to my generation. I'm a child of the 70s, believe it or not. And what we were discussing is the avenues through modern technology that the younger generation have to make money, because you could do a car wash nowadays by hand, something at someone's, and you do a little vlog and you put it out there and you put an advert saying we'll wash your car for £10, and people will see that locally or internationally, and they can say, yeah, okay, we'll hit you up, bum, bum, bum. Or you could be doing hair. Like my daughter, the amount of places I've took my daughter to have her hair done. I said, do you know this person? She said, no, I saw her on Instagram. I like what she does. So I messaged her, and I'm going to the other side of London. Really? But the girl's just there. She's the girl's watching TV, doing her hair at home, getting cash in hand. She gets 50 quid for an hour's work. You know, you do 4 hours, 200 quid. You know, that's all tax free. Yeah. Okay, in time we're meant to be going to a digital currency, but even if someone gives you 50 quid, there's different ways that they can give you money, in other words, and you can put it down to what have you. But the point being, the young people, and not just young people, everybody today, through technology, you have a lot of ways of earning money underhanded by avoiding the government one way or another. Seek an arrangement. OnlyFans girls is a prime example. OnlyFans girls affected the economy so much that the British government banned the website. When you think of that, they banned the website because the young girls weren't going to work in the CAS and the retail industry. So imagine that. That's a big impact that the modern technology has had.
Yeah, that's a good one actually, Simon. That's happened fairly recently, hasn't it? In the last couple of years, during the lockdown, OnlyFans saw a huge surge in users, and some women were making huge amounts of money. They still are. So yeah, that is definitely one. Matilda, can we have the comments, please?
Yes, we have Sasha saying there was an article about how people are individualists with the crisis in crypto. End of the back to reality, human nature.
Yeah, definitely. Crypto crisis. If you're a follower of crypto, you'll see that it's been going through some dips, some lows. You might have lost some money if you've invested in crypto in the last few years. Your portfolio will be down. But it depends who you ask. Some people said don't panic because it's cyclical. These dips are normal. Other people will say get out now while you can. Sell up and just be done with the whole thing. And some people will say buy more. It all depends on who you listen to, really. But okay, guys, so let's talk about what you're excited about. What really gets you excited? What do you see developing? And where are you interested in going next? Because we're all tech people. We've all been involved in tech industries and developing different streams of income in the technology world. So this is our thing, isn't it? We get passionate about. So what's next for you? Who was waving at me? I think it was you, Victor. Or was it Simon?
Simon.
There's two things what gets me excited. I've been talking to some people lately about having a support living system. It's like a care home where you have people with disability or vulnerable people stay in the house. And then it was put to me, but well, why don't you just supply the nurses or the carers to these companies who need people? And you can do it internationally because there's a law that's come about in England where they have an Australian system now that because we need carers, that's high on the chart of points. So you can bring people in from overseas and they can be working here for a number of years, things like that. But what's exciting about that is that you're not dealing with the British crowd. You're dealing with the world and people who speak English. We know English is the most commonly spoken business language around the world. So that's a lot of people who you can reach out to in different countries just from your sitting room or your iPhone, and you can be recruiting people and see if they're vetted, and then you could fly out there, or you could have a Zoom call and have an induction day and see who fits and all that thing. And then when you go out there, you can have another vetting system and then bring people over willy-nilly. And that's all made through the ease of modern technology. So I find that as very exciting as well. There was another thing that I was going to mention, but it slipped me now, so I'll pass back to you, Carla.
Okay, Victor, what do you get excited about? You're muted.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited about access, open source technology. I'm excited about that because it is really revolutionizing. I'll speak for Africa, anyways. The way, can you imagine that the technology for Tesla is open source? But a kid from one of the back ends of in Lagos or in Sapele, my town, can just tap into that and start playing with the codes and create something out of there. That is what I'm excited about. The future is amazing. The future is wonderful. With open source technology, it is going to be great. That's what I'm excited about. Over to you.
And in saying that, Elon has set a precedence now, because what you're really looking at is he's enhancing the world environmentally and technology. wise. And other big companies, if they really want to be seen on the social and be able to relate to the younger generation, the up-and-coming generation, they will have to be seen to be doing things along that lines, if not the same. Because there's a certain pedigree of young people who care about the environment and care about the social impact of forms of technology, rather than just the Facebooks who want to take your information and hand it over to the government. Right, back to you.
Okay, what do you think, Howler? What are you excited about?
Well, I'm excited to see the new education system and how it's going to turn out, because the new generation, they are not very concentrated, and they won't get back to the old education system that we had, and it's not adaptable to them right now. So I think we're going to see a big change in the education system. I hope so. And also for universities, I don't know if people will go to university and get a diploma in the upcoming years. I think it's a great shift because we have a more and more access to information, and I just feel that the new generation, they will create a new wealth in another way that we created for ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. And that came up earlier as well about universities. Simon talked about the cost of university, and you're talking about whether or not people will even need to go. And I definitely think, I mean, if you look at the education statistics and the numbers of enrollments for certain universities, it's just not there anymore. But also Victor touched on this a little bit in a different way, but where the numbers are there and people are going to university, it's different people that are now going. So because universities are now online, you have lots of students in Africa, for example, that are doing enterprises and entrepreneurial things, starting businesses, and then using the proceeds of those businesses to put themselves through university in countries where the young people there don't want to go to university, like here in the UK, which is an interesting shift. It's a global change. And also someone mentioned about English being a widely spoken language. The number of Chinese students who speak English is huge now. And a lot of that is down to them learning online. You can now teach full-time as an English teacher online and never have to leave your home. And the majority of the people that you'd be teaching would be Chinese and from other countries around the world that want to be able to compete globally, mainly online, in the online market, and so are learning English full-time. So I think we've already seen massive changes in the education system. I know COVID also put huge changes. Matilda, what do you think about that? And before that, can we read the comments?
Sure. Sasha is saying, I was talking about that. No, sorry. I think this one is this one first. I didn't read this one. Technically, the projection of the market are based on Fibonacci measurement, and the target will be around 5K on Bitcoin, related to the future level of the market. He's saying, I was already talking about that a few weeks ago, before the new bear market, official now on the 20% of the S&P. And then he goes saying, a distinction between the technology and the value of Bitcoin, with nothing else for the moment. Ponzi sham. That's it. And then he goes back to saying blockchain is a very interesting technology, but we have to distinguish the Bitcoin from that.
Yeah, lots of interesting comments there from Satya. Definitely. And this one where he says blockchain is very interesting technology. We have to distinguish that from Bitcoin. Yeah, blockchain is an asset, I guess, because blockchain is the underpinning technology behind all of this change. And I know that there are through my work with London Real, and we talk about a lot to do with investing in the blockchain technology while the markets are so volatile and the coins themselves are not holding value a lot of the time. Bitcoin has lost a huge amount recently. Ethereum, in fact, many of the coins and currencies have lost value, but the blockchain technology itself is developing all the time behind the scenes and increasing in value, and proving to be a good investment in lots of ways. Simon?
Keep in mind, where everybody talk about Bitcoins losing value and all of these things, what the governments around the world are doing, they're trying desperately to sabotage, to decentralize, because they want to move in with theirs. So if you think of drug wars, for those who are interested in cartel movies, Pablo Escobar is at the top, and the Cali cartel are trying to move in. Like that. And so there's constant bad media, there's this and that. You know, Pablo Escobar killed a load of people. Look, he's a bad guy. Don't watch what we're doing, and all that kind of thing. So that's what's really going on with this.
Are you saying the government is the cartel now?
You said it?
Well, you can find documentaries about that if that's the sort of thing you're into. Matilda, what makes you excited? Because I know you get really excited about these new technologies.
Well, I get excited about blockchain. I think it can be, as I said, it can be interesting instrument, or decentralized banking can be an instrument for countries that have a lot of restriction and sanctions, like Iran, Venezuela. I'm getting excited about metaverse in a way that people who are paralyzed have a fair chance in the society. In a way, they can have their avatar the way that they want, and maybe they can be in a better place with the metaverse. I'm excited about gene editing, if of course they use it in a right and correct way, with the morals behind it, with a strong moral and ethics behind it. If they can eliminate or decrease the diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, heart diseases, MS, so it can be very helpful for people, for humans. I don't know. I'm also excited, scared, but I guess that's every stage or every generation. You bring something new, you resolve problems, so you add some problems to that society as well, like how social media is doing right now for us. But I think as humans, we are resilient, and we will find our way through it. So I'm not worried about humanity or humans that much.
Okay. So, guys, we're talking about lots of different topics. Let's start bringing it together now. Back to the topic for the discussion is about how these technologies will change our communities. What's the potential for them? So when you look forward to the future, what do you see? How do you think these technologies will change the future? What will be the biggest impact of it, Victor?
See, like I said, access. I don't know if it was Hala who mentioned about healthcare or Matilda mentioned about healthcare. I interviewed two entrepreneurs. They were one of them is a medical doctor, and the other guy works in finance. So they are both Nigerians. So they created this app called is something about eye doctors. So so they have close to like 100 doctors that are signed up. So it is online. So even my mom can get subscribed to it. So if she has a headache, all she has to do is just to like bring up her phone and open the app, set up an appointment, and a UK-based medical doctor can speak to her. Symptom, medication from one of the local pharmacies can be delivered to her. So these are kind of what what emerging technology is helping us to do, and how it's affecting our families. It's a subscription-based app, but it's for healthcare. So to me, the impact is huge. The impact is huge when it comes to this new technology. Over to you, Carla.
Okay, Matilda, we've got some more comments. I think these comments are also related.
Yes. So Sasha is saying, never mess with the real power Central banks are the game leaders, not a few dreamers. And he's continuing. People are thinking the world will change because of their self convictions. Good luck to them.
Interesting. Sasha, you're always very insightful. It's great to have you with us all the time, giving us these tips and insights into how things will go. So, also, guys, I think Howler, how do you see technology improving? What's your vision? What's your dream? Because I think we're in the dreamers. We're in the dreamers camp that Sasha has described there. What do you see? Oh, okay. I think, yeah, she's having some technical issues. So, what do you see, Simon?
When I think of a technology as an ex-military guy, I see how, for instance, drones have made life a lot easier for people on the battlefield. You get foresight, you can get medical kit being sent through fire drones to people up front, as well as obviously sending things of devastation to the enemy. And that is a beautiful thing. Eventually, hopefully, they'll be able to make a drone big enough to drop a person in, an injured person, and that could work also for civilian society. So if somebody's sick, instead of sending an expensive helicopter, the hospital could just send a drone, and the person, it could be a village, rural area, let's say somewhere in Africa, the person just gets in there and they just strap themselves in, or they're probably sick anyway, so they're lying down, and they just get flown back to the main hospital. And if with technology like what Elon Musk does with the solar panels and coming out, that was it, coming out of the new mobile phones, which are going to be solar panels charged by solar panels, so you're not always relying on a national grid. So if you do live in rural areas, it makes your life a lot easier communication-wise. That would be great. And I see that is something that's so positive for the future of human beings on the planet, and will bring people together, and people will be able to know what's going on real time.
Yeah, okay. Matilda, do you want to comment on this? We've got from Sasha, the last comment there.
Yes. Sasha Spakarian is saying the biggest impact of the technology will be on AI for the first step. Unemployment and end of jobs, banks, insurance, accountants, and in the meantime, the creation of autonomous cars and changes in real estate. He's saying the transition will force people to accept universal revenue, suppress the freedom related to the cash. Cash will disappear and people will have directly accounts in central banks. More control, less freedom.
Okay, so Sasha's painted a full picture there for us of where it's going, and it's quite interesting what's going on here where I live at the moment. We could definitely do with driverless buses. So I don't know if the tech people are already on it, but we are having massive transport issues here in the UK. So in my local area, they're cutting buses every week. They reduce the services, and it's as a result of not a shortage in drivers. We're also facing a 50% cut in train services over the coming weeks here in the UK, with lots of services being cut, so we could do driverless trains as well. So I think these changes are definitely, we see them happening, what Sasha's talking about there. Not only are jobs disappearing because they're not needed, but also they're disappearing because people don't want to do them, which is quite interesting. That was one of the impacts of COVID, is people had a chance to sit at home and take stock of their lives and realize that they didn't like the quality of life that they had in relation to jobs that they were doing. So it's quite interesting, Sasha, what you're saying there. Definitely got some good points, and we appreciate your input in the show. All right, so guys, we're coming to the end of today's episode.
Sorry, Carla, regards the loss, there's a strike. Strike is going on tomorrow. The tube in London, the tube is shutting down. Also the overground as well. So the London transportation system tomorrow, apart from the buses. So Simon,
Uber. I'll be
Simon,
doing 24 hours tomorrow.
you will be getting.
I'll be
your hands
starting at
full.
midnight tonight. If anybody needs a lift,
Yeah.
10 times the fare.
You see, we have people who will be taking advantage of the system as well. So Simon, well done.
Full capitalism, mate, not charity. Charity,
Yeah.
my own.
I get you. I get you.
Yeah. Okay. How are you back with us? Is your tech situation improved?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay. So, what do you think, Howler, about what's going to be happening in the future? What do you see?
I see in the working environment is going to change. I'm observing the people that are who are in my age. All of them they want to be digital nomad and not working from office anymore. So I think a lot of offices is going to disappear, and people will work digitally. And that's what everybody around me wants to do in the moment, so they can have more freedom. For them now, freedom is not having a car or having a home. It's just having more time for yourself and being flexible with your work. And a lot of millennials now, they're seeking that. They only wants to seek that. And I think also Generation Z, they are going to that direction. So I'm excited to see how is the working environment and job from 9 to 5, I think will shift entirely. So I'm excited about that.
Yes. Okay.
Sometimes you don't want to be sitting at home always. Sometimes you just want to like move.
Yeah.
Tell me about it when you get hitched. You will just want sometimes working at home is good. But when you have the kids shouting about, you just want to like move and go stay with other human beings.
Yeah, it is interesting that the balance of working from home there's definitely, or working remotely. It has pros and cons, definitely, which we could talk about on another episode. But yeah, when you've got kids around or you've got connectivity issues and all of that, it's a different experience altogether. All right, Matilda, let's start wrapping up. Let's have the final comments from Sasha. And then,
Very good. Sasha is going on. The problem with technology is with the freedom. Tomorrow, if we reduce the injections, they cut your revenues, and no one will able to protest. We have a total control on all of your accounts, on media. We will have nothing. We will be happy. They just need consumers washed, stupid and happy in a new world with no culture. But I guess it's very positive.
yeah, Sasha, ever the optimist, Sasha. Thank you for your feedback and thank you for being with us. We really do appreciate you, especially on these topics. You always have such good things to share. Okay, guys, let's do a round and talk about our podcast and where people can find you and what's coming up in your episodes. Simon?
Taxi Chronicles, as usual, I've got a lot of good episodes here. Obviously, about adult sex on virtual reality that's coming. I could go in, but if you follow me on all the major platforms, TikTok, IG, those kind of things, you will find out about what it's like. Also, Africa Investor Stories. Yes, you're just hearing those little snippets of what it's like to invest in Africa and hear from people, real life people on the ground, talking about their experiences. Over to you, Victor.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Yeah, so it's still the Diaspora Entrepreneurs Podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcast, Apple iTunes, Spotify, and all major platforms, including YouTube. Over to you, Hala.
Yeah, so my podcast is under construction at the moment. So you're going to see a new version of the podcast, Women Stories Podcast. In the meanwhile, you can catch it on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Over to you, Matilda.
And my podcast is called Matilda, A Journey to... And you can find me in all podcast platforms on YouTube. And over to you, Carla.
Yeah, and my podcast is the Wonder and Wellbeing Podcast, which is a podcast all about education and well-being. And like Howler, it's under construction, but it will be back soon. And actually, there'll be some new stuff going on, all about charity work and stuff that I've been doing in the local community. What's been keeping me very, very busy, which is why my podcast has kind of been on pause for a while. But we have got a full range of different topics. Simon's got hundreds of episodes with so many people from different walks of life. Matilda's got lots of information about people who want to develop themselves. Howler's got stories from some amazing women. And Victor, did you tell us about your podcast, Victor? You did.
Oh, yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Victor's got lots of investor stories, entrepreneurial tips and things like that. So follow our podcasts. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Podcasters Unleashed. Tell people about us. Let us know which episodes you liked. Next week, we're going to wrap up this season with a final look at all of the topics we've covered over the last 10 episodes. It will be 10 episodes by next week. And we would love to get your feedback on this season, what you liked, what you would like to see more of when we bring our next season. And tell us any comments, any feedback. Tell us what you're doing, what you would like to see in the show, and keep in touch with us because we love to hear from you. We've got a final comment there from Sasha. I'm always positive. I'm French just because we have no choice. And was there one more? No, that was it. Okay, so you can catch us again next week, 7 p.m. London time here on Facebook, on YouTube. And you can also catch the replays of all of our episodes that we've done from the beginning on all the different podcasting platforms. So if you just like audio only, you're not into video, or you want to take us with you on the go, definitely listen to audio version of our podcast and join us again next week for more of Podcasters Unleashed.
Yeah.